Good morning, Corrie Thorne, spiritual healer, coming in to do my weekly forecast reading and to check out this energy that we have happening right now. It was a weird kind of week last week. It was this calm kind of feeling. Now, the world wasn't calm, but the energy, like when I looked out into the sky, there was days there when there was absolutely no cloud. And I kept saying to everybody, have you noticed there is not a cloud in the sky? It was where I live. It was just crystal clear blue. And then all of a sudden a storm hit, and then we got really cold again, and the cold weather hit. But it was such a flash of cold. Like it didn't stay. And today it is like cloudy, and I've been really noticing the color blue, and a lot of that blue. And I feel like we are becoming crystal clear on some of the motives to manipulate in the energy, that we're starting to notice that, there is this essence that is so beyond us. I feel like my phone's going to ring, so I'm just going to turn that ringer off. That there's just such this essence around us, and I'm going to call it an essence. Like I feel this spiritual essence, as if the council of energy, the council has stepped in around and said, let's revisit some of this human manipulation to kind of tell you what your fated life will be and your fated destiny. And a lot of this is not a truth. It's like it's not true. So there's a lot of false energy out there that is imposter energy. And I'm not going to lie. And so you may be feeling that within yourself, that you are feeling like you're an imposter to your own self. You're trying, like, you all of a sudden start to notice that, I'm not, I know the world is telling me I shouldn't be happy and positive, but I'm feeling happy and positive, and that's real. So that happy positive energy that you have happening, that's real energy. And instead of falling into the narrative that we should all be miserable and we should all have a hate on for the world and for each other, what you're being told is no. this top this this coming up energy that we are feeling, this is that angelic realm lifting us up. So it's almost like magnetic. I feel like this magnetic happiness, and we all become magnetically happy, and we start to become nice to each other again. Well, the narrative and the powers of that human energy that's trying to make us not like each other, to not be enemies, well, it's then not winning. And that's the whole thing. We are letting this energy, we're letting this imposter light win. And it's so not a truth to the divine plan of the destined life that we are all here to live. And I'm like, that's not a truth. But if we don't make the changes that we need to make, we're going to fall back down quickly. And so you can't do it in the world, but to do it within you, to be, to feel yourself, feel like you have a magnet at the top. So what we're being told is to imagine as if there's a magnet hovering above you, but that magnet is positive energy. And I'm not saying to fake it until you make it. I understand everybody is going through a hard time. Like the world has a lot of struggles happening right now, but this is like, you can't control some of those things. What can you control? If you wake up today and you start to believe in you again, I'm not letting this world control me. I'm not letting this. I'm like, I understand where I am, but I'm still here. I still have a breath today. I still have an opportunity today. I can still feel this today. And that's what they're telling us. Like, just hold yourself in this energy of feeling like your shoulders are coming up, like your neck is being expanded, like your head is like lifting, and just see yourself like something is coming in to rescue you. Something is coming in to rescue you from our own self, right? From our own misery. And it's like you feel your energy rising. So pull up, pull up, pull up, pull up, pull up. Pull up is what you're being told. And to just keep pulling yourself up. Nobody's going to pull you up. It's like there's a foot being put on our head trying to sink us in our stories, in our truth. Like just as like every time it's like, oh no, they're starting to question us. They're starting to become, it's like they're starting to become too happy. We can't have that. We better put something else, on the news, on the media that makes people afraid. And it's like, pushing down, pushing down, push down, suppress humanity. If we suppress humanity, they won't think for themselves. It's like, wow. And so that energy is being saying, no, We are going to think for ourselves. We are going to start having hope and faith again. And yes, I have dogs barking. I am sorry. So just like in life coaching and things that we do when we build a rapport with our new clients, we get so excited to hear about their day, to hear about their lives. We're like, hey, can tell me a little bit more about you? I would love to know a little bit more. I would love to hear a little bit more about you, not about your belief systems, not about your agendas, about you as a person. And to be able to connect back into humanity by recognizing that we are all people and that all people are just people. And we don't have that no more. We've lost that. And so that's the energy of saying, like let's start to build a new, let's start to build a new rapport. Let's start a rapport. Let's start building rapport. Let's start listening to each other and not saying that we have to have opinions. And it's not saying we shouldn't have an opinion, but to say, let's start looking into the eyes of the human that we are today and what we can do as people. And if we are all just people, imagine what we can become. We'll be a powerhouse and we're not pushing down. So this hovering magnetic energy is telling you to breathe in. And before you go into judgment and criticism today, breathe in. And this feeling that when you breathe in is the feeling that we want to feel when we feel like we've done something good, when we've put our focus into somebody else. And so in a good way. And we just say, oh, this is what it feels like to be free. This is what it feels like to not be held hostage because this energy has all put in everybody into a jail, like this lockdown energy. And you keep hearing the word lockdown, lockdown. Lockdown means that ultimately all of society has been put into a jail. Some have a little more freedom than others. Others have no freedom whatsoever. And we're being told that, can you see those walls? Can you see those jail cells? That means that they're not real. They are invisible. But we're giving it more power than it really has based on the fact that we are feared into it. I better not, I should not, if I do this, and it's like, and so the whole key of it is that what keeps the doors locked is our fear and our fear story. And we're being told to unlock that and to, that door wasn't locked and those walls are not real, and that's all imaginary, right? It's all imaginary that has become such a powerful reality in the world that you're living in. And we're like, no, you know what? There's no roof on there. So if there's no roof on there, why can't you raise the roof? Raise the roof back up. Lift that foot off your head. Raise the roof. Let's start raising the roof. And that means let's start laughing and singing and being happy again. Why is it even at an award show? It's got to be so effing serious. Why does it have to turn political when it's an opportunity for us to share love and joy into the world? It is time for us to start sharing that back into the world and start to bring that back and say, F you, you know what? I'm not your puppet. And I'm not going to be a puppet to the energy. I'm not going to be a puppet to the narrative of these stories. I'm not going to be selling your agenda. And even if you're going to pay me to sell your agenda of fear story, I'm not on board because I can go to the people, and the people who will support me, that those are the people who showed up to your concerts. Those are the people who showed up in your neighborhood. Those are the people who came to see you in your business. Those are the people who were everywhere in our lives that we have lost connection to, and we are believing the agenda that story that has become a foot on our head, that's become the jail cell around us. And that all belongs to a big world that is not our world. That's not where people exist. It is where a selective number of people exist that control the world. And it is time for us as a human beings to start to raise up, to start to laugh again, to start having fun, because fun can be a real killer for negativity. It's amazing. You start having fun and start laughing again, you see that negativity, you see what happens? It starts to pout and it starts to go to the corners. And we want to drive that negativity out. We want to push that energy out because it's time for us to come back. I felt myself losing myself. I felt myself walking away from my work, from everything, and thinking, why? Why? What are we actually fighting for? And what are we doing? And I'm like, no, I'm not going to fight. I'm just going to be happy. And the whole journey to more than existing, and in my book, More Than Existing, that I wrote prior to this, but came out during this time, was that we all mattered and we're not here to just exist. and to be able to look beyond the half-assed truth, the lies and the bullshit, to become honest with ourselves, to take ownership and responsibility for our lives. It's the healing journey of saying, you know what? I've told myself a lot of stories and I've listened to a lot of things that are probably not a truth. Look back through the eyes, and if I could look in at the story with my parents, with my family, and say, you know what? I've seen that through the child eyes of, I'm still telling the story like I'm 5. If we stop acting like we're 5 and we stop being, babysat and put into this energy where we can't think for ourselves, then wow, look what happens to us. But this, more than existing, was walking out of the depths of darkness, walking into the light, and said the only thing that was holding me hostage was my fear stories of believing the narrative of other people or other parts of myself, the shadow self, that wanted to hold me to an old standard and an old story. That happiness and joy, that magnet, that's kind of like the alien universe, like it's kind of like the UFO that's coming in and it's grabbing us. It is getting us to look up, it's getting us to connect, and getting us to say, hey, let's be curious, let's start to think again. And so there is a shift, and it's a big shift. And that big shift is not the narrative of this golden Atlantis age that is being sold to you as a narrative of a way of saying, if you don't do this, we will not exist. If we don't connect back to humanity, to people, and to living our lives and to being able to reconnect, we won't have people to live up on this earth. And Mother Earth didn't come here. She didn't want us, she didn't want this place all to herself. And if she wanted to wipe us out, it'd be done. But it's not done. It is here. And so that timeless treasure. And we are so caught in this time story, this human, this was one of the first things that started control for us. The ability to be able to control by creating time. You're running out of time. You don't have time. Time is not on your hand. It's like this is the narrative that plays out everywhere, everywhere. But this story, so in reverse, we're being told that it is the attitude that we have right now is that we've lived like we're living on borrowed time. Well, you know what? You have one life to be this human, and you have one life to come to life and live this. You are here to exist in this world in the amount of time that you have. We don't have forever as this one human, and we are wasting and letting our time slip away in the fears, in the negativity, in everything that is holding us hostage. There is no top on these walls. These walls and everything that has been created is an illusion. It is not a truth. And so there is a lot of things that are going on. Am I talking about the virus and all those things? I'm like, no, I know what's really happening. And I'm not becoming an activist towards anything because I'm not on board with any activist, just to let you know, I don't care which side you're on. Because if you instill fear to get people to follow you or to have faith, then you don't have faith in what you're trying to sell. And if you have faith in what you're trying to sell, you don't have to pass on fear. That's how institutions, that's how religions, that's how those things really truly have ruined the story of Jesus. And I channel Jesus, so I can tell you he's a whole lot funnier than what they say he is. And he's not the one who's responsible. He's not burning people in hell and all of those narratives, those fear stories. So if you can't sell who and what you are without a fear story, you have nothing to sell. It is that simple. So the illusionist, the paradox energy is this is truly about you can color it up as much as you want. You can create the best graphics that you can sell whatever it is you want to sell. I see it in healing, I see it in mediumship, I see it everywhere of people being able to sell this stuff. But can you stick? Can you stay? Who's at the end of the story? When everybody gets their way, gets what they want, or can really truly step into the dark times and still be able to see the light in there, to still have that kind of faith, to not lose that, to not have to fear somebody to come hide within you, to stand behind you, then you're somebody who should be walking forward. You're someone who should be walking in that light. And so there's so much that is happening here. And this is being that number two. And this is number two is like, we struggle with that whole everybody wants to be a number one, wants to be important. Well, that so-called such an important sense means that you have such high judgment and such high standards on that you are so much better than everyone else. Ah, right? It's like everyone is equally worthy and everyone is here to live together. And the paradox is that those that are pretending and being pretentiously pretending, which was my goddess course yesterday, that whole essence is they're hanging on by a thread to the stories, that if those stories collapse, if that society collapses, if that whole institution collapses, what do they have left? Because the fight to be a number one usually came from the childhood trauma. I'm like, that one that was bullied as a kid that now is going to bully the rest of the world. Time to do some healing here. Time to time to spiritually, emotionally grow up. And so our energy is telling us that blue, crystal clear. So the hearts of humanity and the everyday human, the everyday goddess, the everyday man, the everyday child is the heart of the matter right now. And what matters is us. And what matters is that we get crystal clear on what truly resonates with our heart, what makes us happy, what brings us back together. Desired reflection is that what we desire to see in our lives never ever really left. It is the illusions of everything else that really truly stood in the way. And so that to the fate that is being bestowed upon us is the imposter energy, the attack upon society to get a manipulation going in so many ways. And I mean on our psyche. I don't care about the industrial world as much as, it's not that I don't care, don't get me wrong, but when I'm channeling this energy, I'm asking for healing for the human heart, right? And so it's this whole sense of self that we are starting to lose, the fact that your neighbor matters, you matter, your heart matters, your health matters. Everything does matter, but this life that you have right now is the one life. And so we're shining a light up on the truth, up on the truth that what stands in the way between us and our faith is our emotional attachment and connection to fear. Because when we are triggered, we are constantly returning to the fear story. And it's telling us that in order to move forward, we have to not be stuck in the fear story of what could happen 20 years from now. And we have to live in the power of the now. Power up on love, the earth will heal. Power up on this beautiful light, and the world will light back up again. That magnetic energy that's pulling us is telling us to rise up. Breathe in, breathe out. Get out of your head. Get out of the emotional attachment. Get out of every single story that is not serving you and your neighbor, and rise up and feel the joy and be surrounded in that beautiful joy energy. What can I do today? How can I be of service today? What is one kind good thing that I can do that's not a political agenda, that's not a motive to manipulate? What can I do just because it is the right thing to do? To be a wonderful human being means that you let go of trying to be the good one, trying to be the martyr, trying to be the savior for everyone else. By doing the things that are truly about letting us live in awe of wondering what else is possible. What else can I see today that reminds me of happiness and joy? Living in awe and wonder of the world is how we return to that Christ-like energy. It's how we've returned to the innocence of a child. A child doesn't intentionally go to harm, to hurt another, to manipulate another. It's never set with an intention to hurt or to harm until they are taught that they have to become the other part of our psyche, until the not good side of us, until they have to go on the attack and defend. That's not where we belong. This middle road is the way we walk. This middle road allows us to be able to spiritually, emotionally mature and grow up. And it is time for us to look up into that sky. And it's funny because as we've been talking, the few clouds that were in the sky have moved, and it has moved and shifted. And the sky has turned crystal blue clear again. And there's a few clouds on the edges. So our clouded vision and judgment, our clouded sense of self has been the fear stories. And it is becoming very crystal clear. about what really matters in this world. And what really matters is that we reconnect and that our happiness, our joy, our playing music so loud that we drown out that negativity, we drown out that fear story, we drag out that manipulative energy, and it all falls to the back. We're not saying that they don't have a right to come in and be a part of it. It means leave that shit at the door. Leave that shit behind. Come back and be friends again. Come back and be kind to each other. Come back to dignity for humanity. It is time for us to come home. And this is the energy that is in the air today. It is time for us to come home. Bring it home to here today. Much love.